the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got weed pots.
All right, we're back with our Stoned Appetite interview of the week with the CEO of MedPharm, Mr. Albi Gutierrez. Albert, or Albi, I guess I see as the title from Zoom. Zoom, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you guys. Albi's fine, by the way. That's
okay,
at least.
I wasn't sure if it was one of those personal things or not, but when we saw it in the headline on the Zoom meeting that we jumped on today, I figured it was okay for everyone. It wasn't just like a friends and family name.
Yeah. No, everybody calls me that. It's my nickname, so I enjoy it. I embrace it.
Well, for those that can hear us in the background, I have the dogs, Jerry and Rocco, are going to make an appearance, but I got my co-host to the right, as always. Chris, how are you, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. It's a beautiful day here in Denver today.
Yeah, we're doing it's 60 degrees and it's a new month. We're turning over a new leaf here into February. January was a little bit precarious to say the least, but we got good vibes because this is our first episode back in the new series. So Albi, we appreciate you.
And this is our first ever episode with the CEO. Big time.
I'm just a guy. Sometimes I just say I'm a guy.
That's we're all just guys, but you're a CEO guy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a C-level dude.
Yeah.
That's a C-suite guy. Well, we like to start off all of our interviews kind of getting to know the guy behind the MedPharm or behind the title. And we like to do that every week with the same question. So Chris, in the saddle, boys, we're back.
All right, here we go.
So,
Albi, are you a transplant or a native?
I am a native, born and raised in Denver. Yeah. On the side before it was the Highlands, so love it, born and raised.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of questions. What hospital was it Lutheran since you were a Northsider?
Mercy Hospital.
Mercy Hospital?
Yeah, it's gone now, but yeah, that was the hospital I was born at.
Was that the one over next to Sloan's?
No, that was
St. Anthony's.
That was St. Anthony's.
Okay. See, I can't date myself, but I haven't been here too terribly long, so I know all the hospitals would be a little bit different. But all right, so we have a native here. We don't get a lot of those, Chris.
No, we do not. No, not at all. So we gotta ask this guy questions about Denver, obviously. But kind of first, give us your story. Like, how'd you get? Kind of give us a brief history of Albi.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I grew up in North Denver, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days.
Yes, we got such good friends.
So no, but I grew up in North Denver. Very interesting times. I mean, it was a lot of gang activity back in that day. A lot of drug activity back in the day in that area. Completely changed, complete 180 from what it is. We was also in law enforcement, kind of interesting. And when I grew up in North Denver, I saw a lot of my friends get wrapped up in drug charges and whatnot, and family members as well. And so it's just kind of interesting as I was growing up to see all the different issues that were going on. As I got older, I went to Denver Public School, then I went to college at Metro, got my undergrad from Metro in criminal justice and criminology, and got my master's at CSU. And so kind of funny. And my master's was in business, but then I stepped into the cannabis industry a few years later after, let me step back. I actually was in software development. So I come from, I'm a nerd, I'm a tech geek. So I used to develop software for different companies like Deloitte and Accenture, and we'd create learning systems and different games, I guess, video games that we put their managerial staff through to try and make them better thought leaders. Well, I met a guy by the name of Andy Williams, if you're familiar with Medicine Man, in 2014. And Andy said, hey, I'm making this complex spreadsheet every month and trying to get this data. And I was like, hey, let me see this. And I reverse engineered it and made it so he could press a button and get, whatever data he needed. And he called me a few months later and said, hey, Albi, I could use somebody to help me out with medicine, man, and kind of be, my right-hand guy and be somebody who I can lean on and be me when I'm not there, and kind of help me with mergers and acquisitions, et cetera, et cetera. I said, hey, that sounds fun. I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. I had a couple small businesses before, and I like risk, so why not? So I jumped into the cannabis industry, helped out with Medicine Man Technologies as it was going public. And then MedPharm was kind of starting up at the time. And MedPharm, we came together to really understand the what, why, and how behind cannabinoids, terpenes, and other excipients that come together to help people. That's really our focus, is research, right? And we'll talk about that in a second if we want to go that route, but I'll talk more about that. But basically, we wanted to really understand, how do we help people? How do we destigmatize cannabis and show that when somebody's pulled over for having some cannabis on them because they're using it for anxiety or whatever it may be, that it's actually something that's a medicine. And so that's what MedPharm was all about. So I started taking pieces and putting the puzzle together as far as what the company needed to look like, what kind of facility we built. We have a beautiful facility here in Denver, state of the art, with extraction and cultivation. But we also have, what makes us different is a GMP certified facility. So we're actually certified in GMP and GAP. And we actually have a testing laboratory in-house. So we do all the research components, all the testing of products in-house, which is really exciting. And so that's kind of my genesis of coming into the industry. And then, awareness was born. We have some great brands out there right now. We have Aliviar, Batch, and Become. Those are our three brands. And we have awards won by Aliviar and Batch already. And, I was thinking about, how do we make something that really speaks to what our focus is on in the community, right? And how do we actually take that to the next level? And a lot of people talk about, the racial disparities, and they talk about social equity, and they use the buzzwords a lot, but they don't take action. And I was like, I'm not that kind of guy. I want to take action. So we created a brand. We wanted to make something where we're making everybody aware with us. So it's called awareness, and that's where we got that name. And not just making people aware, but also taking action and partnering with companies like the Black Cannabis Equity Initiative and John Bailey, and putting the right people in the room and bringing the right people to the table to have conversations about how cannabis, how the people impacted by the war on cannabis and the drugs and the drug war could actually benefit from the industry, right? And changing some of the laws and making it so they can come into the industry. So that's what it's all about, and that's what we're doing. We've created a great product, and we partnered with some great dispensary partners who are putting the product in store to raise money for the Black Cannabis Equity Initiative and push that forward.
Man, that's a lot to unpack, and I don't think you got that. Yeah, that's a whole fucking lot.
Yeah,
Let's start with the fact that Chris and I were betting on how you got into the industry and if you worked your way up from the CEO. But it sounds like you started at, like, you were always a C-level guy, is kind of what I heard. Like, you were brought in from the right-hand man, from Andy, like somebody, so you had already kind of established that rapport. So we weren't sure. We were like, oh, well, we may have or may not have knew that you're a native, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so we weren't sure. Like, we had a lot of casual questions, like, when was the first time you got high? Or what?
I was 13 years old.
See, yeah, like, y'all are a little bit more predisposed. What is the term I'm looking for, Chris?
Predisposed.
Yeah, thank you. To, like, maybe getting higher before us, or like skiing, or like, are you a skier or snowboarder? But we went all the way through, like, all of my talking points. So we're going to unpack this one thing at a time.
Sure. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. That was a great elevator pitch I gave everyone. It was kind of like the trailer for the episode. Everyone's going to kind of get to know a little bit about it, because we're going to talk more in depth about all of those things. But let's start with, do you grow weed in your own house? Did you ever grow weed? Was this like a fondness that was always there? Or was this a new love?
Yeah, no, I never grew weed in my own house. I had an older brother who always just brought it. I would get it from wherever he got it from, and he always had it. So never grew myself. I'm not much of a green thumb. But when I first tried cannabis, it's kind of funny because I didn't have a good experience. I think I was too paranoid, right? And I had family in law enforcement, as I kind of mentioned. So it really freaked me out. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get caught. And so I hadn't really...
you were scared straight, like, before you even tried it.
Yeah, I hadn't indulged in it really. And then as time went on, I got in my 20s. I was like, this is great, actually. I got to try it more. And I was like, Hell yeah. And so, I'm a pretty consistent consumer. I mean, I love everything about this plant and what it stands for. So absolutely.
So question there. I was thinking about asking this earlier. When you say family and law enforcement, are we talking like mom, dad, or are we talking like aunt, uncle thing?
My mother.
Ooh.
Did she get us out of parking tickets?
So when you were like, "Hey, Ma, I'm gonna go start playing around in the cannabis industry," what was her initial response?
My mom knows that I'm kind of crazy and I'm always been kind of a risk taker, and she just supports me. It is a legal industry, and she was just all for it. So she's fine with it. She's very well respected in law enforcement, and so she's got a good name and everything, and she's just always been supportive of me and what I do. So I can't complain. I've always had a good support base with her.
Okay, so here's a question then. What was the reaction when she obviously found that Doja in the underwear drawer of you or your brother? She was she a little bit more understanding because she knew that it's medicinal.
One time she found a bunch of cannabis in my brother's room, and she ended up, this was before it was legal, of course, but she's threatened to take him in and kind of tried to scare him straight that way, but that didn't really work out for him. He didn't stop, but she did have to confiscate it and turn it in and everything. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. I know.
Oh, she turned it in too? She had to go the whole 9 yards?
I'm not sure if she threw it out or whatever, but I'm sure she probably turned it in or whatever she had to do.
See, I wish it would have been treated like cigarettes growing up. Like my dad would have been like, smoke this whole bag. And you're like, oh, please, no.
My great grandma did that to me. My great grandma, I was curious with one of her cigarettes, and I was like, God, it had to be like 14. And she caught me with one of them, and she made me smoke the whole pack to just show me. And I haven't touched cigarettes since. It's horrible.
Sometimes it works, and then sometimes it goes like my family, where we're all like, damn, this is kind of addicting. I want one every morning and after every meal. Well, when I heard you say you did the criminal justice education, and then you were like, and then kind of went a roundabout route to getting into the cannabis industry, at first I was like, we got a fox in the hen house. But it seems like, did you want to go into law enforcement? And then you were just like, no, I want to make more money and I don't want to get shot at, kind of thing?
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of how it went. I decided after doing my undergrad, I was actually almost done. And I said, I don't really want to go into law enforcement. Maybe I want to be an attorney. And I actually realized I hated reading law.
Dude, that's what
I took the LSAT and I scored pretty high, and I decided not to go that route. I didn't want to take on the debt, and two, I realized I hated law. I hated reading it. I hated deciphering it and all that. So, I just was like, okay, I'm going to go do something else. And, I had always been pretty tech savvy, and I loved writing code, and I loved to build programs. And that was kind of my thing at the time. So, kind of went more into the business side. That's where I got my master's at CSU, is more on the business side. And that was more exciting to me. And so I started, working at different companies. As I mentioned earlier, developing software for different needs. And I really enjoyed that. And so, I still do some programs here and there. I made a fun, we had a program, my brother called Suns. It's still Apple Store and in Google Play.
You're out there making apps?
Yeah, it was just kind of a fun thing at the time. Honestly, me and my buddy Bruce did it. We made it, and it's kind of it was really cool because honestly, about 3 years ago, we created Sunspot, and we made it so people can engage with music, and you and I could watch the same exact music video, and listen to the same songs at the same time, no matter where you're at. And it kind of it kind of took off at the time, but it was kind of slow. And then COVID hit, and it started even getting more hits because that's what people want to do. They want to be able to engage with one another, listen to music. And really our focus was like the artist, right? Let's get the artists away from all the record labels and make sure that they can, be independent and get their music out there still and get paid. And that was really our focus with it. And so we built it, and it still sits out there. We don't do much with it anymore, but it's just kind of fun.
That's wild.
Dude, you're one of those cool fucking nerds. Like, you're brutal. Like, when you're like, oh, me and my friend just casually built a fucking app that also allows everyone to engage with live. Like, you need to sell that to livefish.com or Live for Live Music. Those folks